Webster defines crunch time as a critical moment or period, like the end of a game, when decisive action is needed. Every sports fan knows this time in the game. Your palms sweat just a little more, your heart races just a little bit faster, and you live and die with every play until the final seconds tick off the clock and you're either celebrating a victory or disappointed by the defeat. The team at Crunch Time Sports Advantage Network understands just how critical these moments are. For us, it begins as soon as the next set of games are on the board. We evaluate the opening lines and any breaking news throughout the week. We cover each game inside and out, whether it's from inside the locker room to a huddle down on the field, the court, or the ice. We take you inside the meeting room with scouts, coaches, and executives. We have our fingers on the pulse of all the sports that we cover: the National Hockey League, NBA, college basketball, college football, and the National Football League. We are the Crunch Time Sports Advantage Network, and we're here to help you find your sports advantage. After all the data has been crunched, we then turn it over to Kenneth for the best analysis around. His unique perspective in both understanding the data and how it applies to the game and how you win is the Crunch Time Sports Advantage. Are you ready? The Crunch Time Jet is fueled and ready for takeoff, and the Crunch Time Express is about to leave the station. Your VIP pass has been approved, so all aboard.
And Jessica, fantastic job as always with the lead in for the top 25 each and every week. Folks, I'm going to take full ownership of this error that I made with our data. So I didn't include all of the special teams data like I should have. We made that adjustment Saturday morning. So this top 25 will truly reflect all of that information the way that we want to interpret it. So let's jump right in with this week's revised top 25 after week 7 of this college football season. And coming in at number 25 is the LSU Tigers. LSU made a big jump in our poll. I want to say about 14 spots from last week after we did the adjustments. Getting that win against Ole Miss at home was significant. It was truly LSU's first quality win of the season. So that's why they come in this week at the number 25 spot. And folks, if you know me, you know number 24 absolutely warms my heart as for the first time ever in our poll, the Navy midshipmen come in at number 24. We had Army make the top 25 last week. Now we get Navy joining the top 25, coming in at number 24. And this team has been absolutely phenomenal all season long. And our numbers are now starting to reflect some of that stability each and every week we've seen from the Navy midshipmen. So congratulations, Navy, for making the top 25 this week, coming in at number 24. Coming in at number 23, off a disappointing loss in Baton Rouge, and a lot of questions should be asked and, quite frankly, demanded of head coach Lane Kiffin. Uh, just a horrible job coaching in that ball game from start to finish. Lane, we got some questions you're gonna need to start answering for. But Ole Miss coming in at number 23 in this week's poll. Coming in at number 22, the Kansas State Wildcats. K-State coming off a hard-fought win there in Boulder last week over Colorado. No shame in where this team sits right now at number 22. Everything, and I do mean everything, is in front of this team as far as not only making the Big 12 championship, but making the college football playoffs. That 31-28 win, a lot of respect for both teams, but K-State was able to get that win in Boulder. Coming in at number 21, the Texas A&M Aggies, fresh off of their bye week last week. So Texas A&M in a very, very nice spot there at number 21. Got a interesting trip. And around these parts, we do like interesting. They will be heading to Start Vegas to take on Mississippi State. And we saw Mississippi State give the Georgia Bulldogs a run for their money last week. So A&M needs to be ready in this ball game. Coming in at number 20, the UNLV Running Rebels. Folks, the Running Rebels and folks in Las Vegas have not been this excited about a team there in Las Vegas since Jerry Tarkanian and the Running Rebels were running their way through the NCAA basketball tournament, winning a national championship over 30 years ago now. So Running Rebels, head coach Barry Odom doing a fantastic job there. So UNLV, number 20 in this week's poll. Let's get inside of the top 20 and work our way up to the top 10. Coming in at number 19, out of the Mountain West, is the Boise State Broncos. We know about their fantastic running back, Mr. Gentry, just putting up video game numbers. We have not seen this kind of production from a running back. You got to go all the way back to 1988. A young running back out of Oklahoma State named Barry Sanders was just running rampant through college football. This is the kind of production that this young man is putting up each and every week. And folks, he's not even playing 4 quarters. Imagine what kind of numbers he would be putting up if he played the entire ball game. My goodness, watch out there. Coming in at number 18, the Pony Express. They're out of the Metroplex, and that is Southern Methodist University. The Mustangs have everything in front of them to possibly even make the ACC championship game this year. And folks, I've told you, this team and this program has been waiting over 4 decades for being issued the death penalty to really make a name for themselves once again on the national stage. They are here, and you better be ready to deal with the Pony Express because head coach Rhett Lashlee doing a fantastic job there for SMU. Coming in at number 17, and folks, this team is not ranked in any other poll but ours. We trust the data. We trust what we're seeing on the field. That is the James Madison Dukes coming in at number 17. This team plays excellent football on all 3 phases of the game. And that loss a couple of weeks ago to Louisiana Monroe, nothing to hang their hat on. Tough conference opponent, going on the road, losing a 2-point game. That is not going to knock JMU out of our top 20. JMU coming in at number 17. Fantastic job there. Coming in at number 16, climbing up the charts faster than the Beatles when they first stepped on the stage, the Army Black Knights. Army just off to another fantastic campaign thus far. Folks, the last time both Army and Navy were ranked this high in the top 25, you got to go back 6 decades for that. Hats off to head coach Monken and his fantastic job, fantastic team there, doing a great job there for Army. Folks, we could be in for a very special season with our service academies in Army and Navy. Stay tuned and just enjoy the show because this is history. Coming in at number 15, and got to be honest with you, I was a little bit miffed by it, but this team only has one loss, and that loss was to a very good Texas A&M team. I expect Texas A&M to continue to move up in the polls. That's only going to strengthen Missouri as that's their only loss. If you're going to have a loss, you could have far worse loss on your resume than what Missouri has. So Missouri comes in at number 15. Checking in at number 14, and this team is absolutely climbing the boards and climbing the charts, and that is the Clemson Tigers. Since that beatdown in week 1 versus Georgia, all this team has done is just win ball games. A 49-14 absolute beatdown of Wake Forest. Folks, it's not about who you beat anymore. It's about the consistency from one week to the next. This Clemson team has been very consistent since that week 1 loss to Georgia, and our numbers are absolutely reflecting that. So, Dabo Swinney, looks like you've gotten your team to finally find their level. We understand the competition hasn't been that great, but guess what? We've seen teams lose to much worse opponents than the team that you just beat in Wake Forest. So we're not going to nitpick over your schedule. We're just going to continue to watch you progress each and every week and see where you finish up as we get to the month of November. Coming in at number 13, and this is for my good friend Julie Vols. I have the pleasure of joining her and Matlock on their show, Matlock and Loaded, each and every Wednesday and Friday. They like it so much they have me on twice. So you can find them on Twitter at Matlock850. You can also catch their show from 9 to 11 Central Time on 850 The Ticket. I'm sorry, sportsradio.com. So fantastic job there, Julie Vols. I know you are a big Tennessee fan, and despite how poorly that offense has looked over the past 8 quarters, what has not looked horrible is that defense. That defense is championship level good. If your offense can get to be average, Tennessee could be in store for a special season. We'll talk about them later on in the week as they got a game that will have some importance. And if you look on your calendar, it is the 3rd weekend of October. We all know what that game is and who that opponent is. Coming in at number 12, out of the Big 12, that is Brigham Young University. BYU. It's not pretty. And guess what, folks? It doesn't have to be. This team is turning opponents over at opportune times, taking advantage of it, and that's why they sit with the record that they sit with. I have no fault with BYU being in the top 12, and quite honestly, this team is good enough to be in the top 10. Checking in at number 11, the Pitt Panthers. Pitt coming off a very hard-fought win at home against Cal. I thought that this was a game where Cal would just be absolutely mentally and physically worn out. Credit to the Cal Bears for fighting for 4 quarters in that ball game. Pitt did just enough to come out of that ball game with the win. So once again, we're not going to nitpick how you get the wins as long as you keep putting W's into the win column. Pitt has done that all season long, And that's why they sit just on the edge of cracking the top 10. Speaking of cracking the top 10, and that's where we find the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And I know the question is going to be asked, and I'm going to go ahead and answer it now. I'm not even going to wait to the end of the podcast. Why is Notre Dame with that 5-0 record? I'm sorry, 5-1 record, losing to Northern Illinois? Why are they sitting so high in the poll? Folks, it's because of their strength of schedule. They beat Texas A&M. Okay. They beating Louisville. That's a good quality win. But what remains on their schedule is what is really juicy. In years past, if you would have played Army and Navy, that would have been an anchor, no pun intended, around your neck. This year, with both Army and Navy being ranked, and will likely be extremely highly ranked for the rest of the year, that's giving Notre Dame a boost in the strength of schedule, which is a very important component in our top 25. That's why Notre Dame sits at the number 10 spot. Checking in at number 9, hunker down, the Georgia Bulldogs. Folks, we didn't like what we saw from Georgia last week. 41-31. And folks, that score was not misleading. Georgia was not in control from the start of this game to the end of this game. This game was 27-10 at the end of the first half. Mississippi State scores 14 in the third quarter, tightening up that ball game. So Georgia was winning the ball game, but they never had complete control of the game. That's a problem when you're facing a team when you're as heavily favored as Georgia was coming into that ball game. That is what's reflected in these numbers. And honestly, I have no problem with Georgia being at the number 9 spot. Coming in at number 8, folks, the Penn State Nittany Lions, 6-0 on the year. And we finally saw this Penn State offense absolutely unleashed. Quarterback Drew Aller in that game against USC on the road, 30 for 43, 391 yards. Did have the 3 interceptions. We don't like that. 2 touchdowns. We do like that. But it's the fact that this team had no business winning that game. And to get that game into overtime and then have USC miss a chip shot field goal and take advantage of it, sometimes you just have to win the ball game. And Coach Franklin, I took notice of how he tampered down the celebration from his team. His team wanted to plant the flag there in the Coliseum. James Franklin said, absolutely not. What we're going to do is we're going to go back to the locker room and we're going to start getting ready for our next opponent, because coming to USC, getting a win was just a part of our season-long objective. I like that by James Franklin. None of the daggum foolishness. Let's get back to work. Good job, Coach Franklin. Good job, Penn State, getting the win. Checking in at number 7, my good friend Amber Holly's beloved Ohio State Buckeyes. Dropped 5 spots from last week with that loss to Oregon on the road. Some questionable decisions there by Ohio State throughout that game. We've had questions. We've had some concerns about how this team was going to play in their first true contest, big-time contest on the road. Nothing to hang your head down if you're an Ohio State fan coming out of that ball game. But there's something that I did mention. This team is a little bit more aggressive on 4th downs. I would worry about that a little bit in high-stake poker games, especially early on in the game. Now, if you truly felt that your defense couldn't get a stop, That would be extremely concerning for Ohio State. But you're still sitting there at the number 7 spot. You still have a big time game coming up in a few weeks against number 8 Penn State. So you're not too far out of the top 5 at this point. So Ohio State, get back into the win column, and you'll see that you'll start to creep back up into that top 5. Just take care of business. A team that struggled to take care of business, and they have continued to fall in our polls over the past couple of weeks. We have the Alabama Crimson Tide coming in at number 6. And the old expression, it's better to be lucky than good. That is where we sit with the Alabama Crimson Tide. 27-25 win at home over South Carolina. There's some work that needs to be done there in Tuscaloosa, and they better figure that out because they traveled to Knoxville to take on the Tennessee Volunteers in a game that we'll be breaking down on the podcast here in just a couple of days. So you want to listen to that breakdown because I'm going to tear the cover off of that contest. Coming in at number 5, the Iowa State Cyclones. And this team has just continued to impress me each and every week. A very, very impressive road win there in Morgantown over West Virginia last weekend, winning that contest 28-16. Really was impressed by just that team just really going up to a very difficult place to play in West Virginia and just took care of business. It wasn't pretty the entire game, but guess what? It doesn't have to be. Quarterback Rocco Beck in that contest, 18 for 26, 265 yards. The one touchdown, yes, but no real mistakes in that ball game. This team just knows how to find a way to win this year. And folks, in a season where we've seen quite a bit of upsets, this team is just quietly taking care of business. Coming in at number 4, the Miami Hurricanes. It doesn't have to be pretty, folks. And the last couple of weekends, of course, Miami was off last week, but 3 weeks ago, the game against Virginia Tech, 2 weeks ago, the comeback win against Cal. These were games that Miami was losing last year under head coach Mario Cristobal. So credit to Mario for getting the wins this year that he wasn't getting last year. We look at that, we analyze that, and we will always acknowledge that. If you're getting wins, it's going to reflect in your ranking. And right now, Miami sitting at number 4 is probably right about where they should be. Checking in at number 3, the highest ranking. I take that back because we no longer have the Pac-12. Our second highest ranked Big Ten team in the top 25, and that is America's team, the Indiana Hoosiers. Indiana is just off to probably their best start in really in program history under first-year head coach Curt Cignetti. You wondered, as a college football viewing public, could what he was doing at the Group of 5 level be replicated at the Power 4 level? The answer is an emphatic hell yes, they can. Indiana had the bye week last week, and this team is just going to look to continue to keep rolling. I like what I'm seeing from the Hoosiers. We'll see how this week turns out for them as they have a big-time matchup. We'll be talking about that here in just a few moments. Coming in at number 2, up one spot from last week, that is the Oregon Ducks. Fresh off of their win last weekend against Ohio State. Dan Lanning, what did we learn about you last weekend? Well, you're gutsy. And you were bailed out from some really questionable decisions both early in that game and late. You got the win. Dan Lanning, we need to see more. Right now, you're sitting at the number 2 spot, catbird seat. If you just take care of business the rest of the regular season, you will be playing in Indianapolis. Your first year in the Big Ten, you will have a shot to play for a conference championship. Just continue to take care of business like you've done so far. And again this week, coming in at number 1 off of a good old-fashioned country butt whooping in the Red River rivalry, 34-3, the Texas Longhorns. And folks, everything that we said in the breakdown about this game was absolutely right. We said that Oklahoma would give you the defensive performance of their lives last weekend because it was a rivalry game. Folks, that 21 points was aided by a couple of late in the half turnovers there by Oklahoma. And then, like we said, the dam was going to break there in the second half. Texas outscored Oklahoma 13-0 in the second half. And really pretty much from the first quarter, 34 rip. Texas took care of business just like they were supposed to as the number 1 team in the country. Good job there by Coach Steve Sarkisian, and good job there by the Texas Longhorns. Folks, let's look at our top 25 teams in action this week. We do have a few ranked-on-ranked games this week. Let's start with number 10, Notre Dame, as they will be playing a neutral site game against Georgia Tech this weekend. Number 4, Miami on the road at Louisville. That's a very significant game. You might even say an interesting game. Coming in next, number 18, SMU. They will be on the road taking on Stanford. Number 2, Oregon. Could this be a letdown spot against a gritty and gutty Purdue team? We'll find out this weekend. Folks, that line is already down 5 points, so that's telling you a little bit something there from our guys in the desert. Number 22, K-State, traveling to West Virginia to take on the Mountaineers. Number 20, UNLV, on the road to take on Oregon State. Another interesting game. You know we like interesting. Number 25, LSU, on the road to take on Arkansas in the Battle of the Boot. Number 21, Texas A&M, on the road at Mississippi State in Stark Vegas. You know those cowbells will be ringing early and often in that contest. Ranked on ranked, loser leave town match. Number 6, Alabama at number 13, Tennessee. Third weekend of October. A lot of history in that game. Doesn't mean anything this year. What's at stake? The winner has a chance of still making the college football playoff. Loser, a lot of concerns. Number 9, Georgia, on the road taking on number 1, Texas. Folks, that is our game of the week. Our Matlock and Julie balls to the wall game of the week. They're in Austin. Number 17, James Madison, on the road at Georgia Southern. JMU, this is not a time to have a letdown spot. Number 14, Clemson, will welcome in Virginia in a very important game in the ACC. Number 16, Army will host Eastern Carolina. Number 24, Navy will host Charlotte. Number 3, Indiana will host Nebraska. Very significant game, very interesting game. We like interesting. We're going to talk about that later this week. Number 12, BYU will welcome in conference opponent Oklahoma State. Number 5, Iowa State will welcome in UCF. UCF is reeling. Oklahoma State is running. Watch out, folks. This game could get away from UCF. And finally, number 15, Missouri will be taking on the Auburn Tigers in a very important game for the Missouri Tigers if they want to stay in the chase for a playoff spot. We have a few teams on bye this week. In fact, we got 5 of them. Number 7, Ohio State. Number 8, Penn State. Number 11, Pitt. Number 19, Boise State. And finally, number 23, Ole Miss. Those teams definitely need to get rested up and get ready to go because, folks, season's halfway over. That means we still got another half to go. Got to get down to business this weekend for all of our top 25 that's in action this week. Folks, that's going to wrap up our top 25 this week. We may do a bonus podcast tomorrow. Follow us on Twitter at CrunchTimeVIP as we may do a mid-season progress report on the Power Four. How are those teams from a power ranking standpoint at the midway junction in the season compared to where they were in the preseason? Folks, we've had some changes in those power rankings. We may get a chance to talk about that this week. We'll see if time permits on that. On behalf of my fantastic team here at the Crunch Time Sports Advantage Network, our lovely and talented co-host Jessica and Summer, our senior handicapping analyst Billy. This is Kenneth, senior analyst for the Crunch Time Sports Advantage Network, signing off as always. Thank you for listening. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you soon with the Week 8 feature games breakdown, and hopefully we'll be able to put that bonus podcast together for you. Would love to get that information in your feed this week. I think it would do you, the college fans, a service of knowing just how those lines are set. It's set with those power rankings, and we would love to kind of show how this season has affected all of those teams. So on behalf of my fantastic team, once again, have a great rest of your day. And as always, God bless everybody.